Did you know, treason cases were rare in Russia 30 years ago, with only a handful brought annually. But in the past decade, and especially since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the number has soared, along with espionage prosecutions. Citizens and foreigners alike are being ensnared, from Kremlin critics and independent journalists to veteran scientists working with countries that Moscow considers friendly. We've seen over 100 known treason cases in 2023 alone, and there are probably another 100 that nobody knows about. These prosecutions have drawn comparisons to the show trials and purges under Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin in the 1930s. Held in strict isolation at Moscow's notorious Lefortovo prison, these trials almost always result in convictions and long prison terms. These cases stand apart from the unprecedented crackdown on dissent under President Vladimir Putin. In 2022, he urged security services to harshly suppress the actions of foreign intelligence services and promptly identify traitors, spies, and saboteurs. Mass anti-government protests erupted in Moscow in 2011-12, with officials blaming the West. The legal definition of treason was then expanded to include providing vaguely defined assistance to foreign countries or organizations, effectively exposing anyone in contact with foreigners to prosecution. The changes to the law were heavily criticized, but authorities began applying the broad interpretation after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014 and supported a separatist insurgency in eastern Ukraine. One notable case is Svetlana Davidova, a mother of 7 from Smolensk, who contacted Ukraine's embassy in Moscow in 2014, saying she thought Russian troops were heading to eastern Ukraine. She was arrested in 2015 on treason charges. The case drew national attention and outrage. The charges against Davidova were eventually dropped, a rare exception in the increasing number of cases that consistently end in convictions and long prison terms. Prosecution targets have expanded to include journalists writing about Russia's military and eminent scientists in fields that could have applications in weapons development. These professionals are often punished for publishing articles in journals and participating in international projects. The Wall Street Journal's Evan Gershkovich was arrested in 2023 on espionage charges, the first American reporter so accused since the Cold War. Ksenia Kavana was arrested in February, accused of collecting money for Ukraine's military. Paul Whelan, a U.S. corporate security executive, was arrested in 2018 and sentenced to 16 years in prison for espionage. Some cases, especially involving scientists, can be traced to a 2018 speech by Putin, where he touted Russia's hypersonic weapons program. The security services aim to show the Kremlin that Russia's scientific advances are so impressive that foreign powers are eager to steal them. The rise in prosecutions followed the FSB's decision in 2022 to allow regional branches to pursue treason cases. Officials in those areas sought to curry favor with their superiors to advance their careers. Above all, the FSB genuinely believes in the fragility of the regime, amid political turmoil, from mass protests to the ongoing war in Ukraine. They fear the regime could break, even if that's not the case. The surge in treason prosecutions in Russia highlights a troubling trend of stifling dissent and punishing those who step out of line. As the number of cases continues to rise, the question remains: how far will the authorities go to maintain control?